Welcome back to Court TV Live. Buckle up. We are in Corpus Christi, Texas this morning. Opening statements just about to get underway in the trial for the former Uvalde school officer, Adrian Gonzales. The 52-year-old was among the first on the scene of the horrific school shooting at Robb Elementary. We all remember it back in May of 2022. Gonzales is charged with 29 counts of child abandonment or endangerment after prosecutors say he waited more than an hour and prevented other officers from going in and confronting the teenager who was eventually shot and killed. But there were parents at that school urging officers to go in. They wanted to go in, and nobody did anything. At the end of the day, 19 kids were killed, 17 injured, 2 teachers also killed, 17 children and 2 teachers. Before we go into court, here is Cody Thomas with more on the case against Adrian Gonzales.
May 24th, 2022. Police respond to a school shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. Video released of the response garnered outrage when police took 77 minutes to kill the gunman.
Mr. Ramos, can you hear me? Please put your gun down, sir. Please don't hurt anyone else.
The shooter entered Robb Elementary at 11:33 a.m. 3 minutes later, 11 law enforcement officers arrived inside. Officers at several points delayed gaining access to the room by clearing other classrooms and negotiating with the shooter. After 50 minutes, a team begins to move towards the classroom. A little over 20 minutes later, rapid gunfire, and the gunman is killed.
I just don't know what was going through those policemen's minds that tragic day, but you know, everything said, you know, there was just no action.
19 students and 2 teachers were killed by the gunman, and 17 survivors were hurt.
Somebody's error was made there, and they gotta pay for that error, because we're paying it for the rest of our lives, not seeing our kids grow up.
Nearly 400 officers waited before confronting the 18-year-old gunman, and only 2 officers have been charged. One of the 2 senior officers in charge is now going to trial for the failures of that tragic day. Former school officer Adrian Gonzales faces 29 counts of abandoning and endangering a child. If convicted of all charges, he could face up to 58 years in prison. Gonzales pleaded not guilty to the charges, and a judge granted his request for a change of venue for the trial. Defense attorney Nico LaHood said, quote, "It would be impossible to gather a jury that would not view the evidence through their own pain and grief."
I think in this case, it was just negligence. Who waits 77 minutes outside? Who does that? Because I guarantee if it was their children, they would have ran in. And that's just all there is to it. They failed us. They failed our kids. They failed our city. They failed our community.
Soon after, we received the news that our daughter was among the 19 students and 2 teachers that died as a result of gun violence. We don't want you to think of Lexi as just a number. She was intelligent, compassionate, and athletic. We stand for Lexi, and as her voice, we demand action.
In response to the shooting, the Texas Senate passed the Uvalde Strong School Safety Act, improving the way police deal with active shooters.
All right, let's head to the courtroom because right now they're just getting ready for the opening statements. They're reading out loud the indictment to the jury. Everybody is there. Let's watch.
Under section 262.302. Count 3 is for the child of Javier Lopez. Count 4 is for the child Jace Carmela Luerna. Count 5 is for the child Annabelle Guadalupe Rodriguez. Count 6 is for the child Alexandria Anaya Rubio. Count 7 is for the child Leila Marie Salazar. Count 8 is for the child Eliana Torres. Count 9 is for the child Rogelio Fernandez Torres. Count 10 is for the child Nevaeh Alyssa Bravo. Count 10 is for the child Jacqueline Jalen Lasseris. Count 11. Count 12 is for the child McKenna Lee Elrod. Count 13 is for the child Liana Garcia. Count 14 is for the child Tess Marie Mata. Count 15 is for the child Miranda Gail Mathis. Count 16 is for the child Alethea Haven Ramirez. Count 17 is for the child Maeta Yulena Rodriguez. Count 17 is for the child Jayla Nicole Tugero. Count 19 is for the child Amarie Joe Garza. Count 20 is for the child Noah Oscar Arona. Count 21 is for the child Chloe Merlinda Torres. Count 22 is for the child Jordan Demetrio Olivares. Count 23 is for the child Jaden Ganistalas. Count 24 is for the child Samuel Salinas. Count 25 is for the child Kate Kendall Faith Olivares. Count 26 is for the child Mia Seville. Count 27 is for the child Gilberto Mata. Count 28 is for the child AJ Martinez. And count 29 is for the child Maya Zamora.
All right. Once again, both sides have agreed to allow the defendant to enter the plea as to all 29 counts, but not read all 29 counts. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, all 29 counts will be set out and will be in the final charge of the jury. But at this time, in regard to the entire indictment, sir, how would you like to plead, guilty or not guilty?
I'm not guilty.
All right, thank you. You can be seated. The court will receive your plea in the causes. And again, typically, ladies and gentlemen, I read the indictment immediately after you're impaneled and sworn, but because of the lateness of the hour last evening, we deferred it to today. So at this time, I'd ask the state to approach, and you may make your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. It was awards day at Robb Elementary. The fourth graders lined up throughout the morning and gathered at the cafeteria with their parents. To receive certificates of achievement. It was a day of celebration. After the celebration, they returned to their homes and to their classes. They turned off the lights and they watched movies because it was a day, it was a light day. Some of the kids got to go to recess. Just down the road was Hillcrest Funeral Home. And a man named Gilbert Lamons was working at the funeral home. It was about 11:30 when a truck crashed through a rail and into a ditch. So he did what any of us would do. He went to check on the driver to see if he was okay. He and Cody Brasino left the funeral home, walked across the street, got close to the ditch when they were met with a man who exited the truck but got out with a rifle, a high-powered rifle. So as you might expect, they turned and ran. Shots were fired. So they called the police. They called the police for help. The gunman jumped over the fence, deliberate pace, across the schoolyard to the southwest corner building, and opened fire. Stephanie Hale was in the playground on the south end of the school. She heard the fire. And it didn't make her incapable of action. She protected the kids. She got them to safety. They went into the classrooms. They did as they'd been trained. They hid in the dark and waited for help. For the police. The teachers and the kids armed themselves with scissors to confront a gunman. To confront a gunman. Melody Flores was also out there that day. She heard the shots fired. She had a concern for the kids. She was capable of action. She ran to where the gunfire was sounded. And there were kids at the south end. They were about to go to recess. They were told, get back in, get back in, get back in. And she doesn't leave her post until they get back in the West Wing. But she stays there so long that when that happens and the last kid enters, she's face to face with the gunman. And he fires on her and she turns to run. And when she turns to run, she trips and she falls. And when she gets up, Adrian Gonzales, the police officer, is there. She says, he's over there. She urges him to go get him. Adrian Gonzales says, where? Over there. He's wearing black. He's in the teacher's parking lot. As shots are ringing out. This is not confusion. He gets on the radio and says, shots are fired. He's wearing black. He's in the parking lot. He knows where he is. But Adrian Gonzales remains at the south side of the school. The gunman makes his way up the west side of the west building where the fourth graders are. He fires shots into a classroom full of children at 102. Adrian Gonzales remains. He moves down to classroom 104, fires shots into the classroom of 104. Adrian Gonzales remains. He moved halfway down the wing, fires more shots, this time not into the building, because there's no defect in the building. It's not going into the windows, it's not going into the bricks. It's also at the same time, when forces are coming, other police officers are starting to arrive. He then hurries to the west door and enters. It's been a minute. And there's a break in the shooting, and Adrian Gonzales remains. The gunman then walks down the hallway, gets to room 111 and 112, the entryway, and fires in the neighborhood of 20 shots in the hallway. And Adrian Gonzales remains. The children in 111 and 112 are done as they're trained. In the dark, lights off, be quiet, hide, and wait for Adrian Gonzales. And the gunshots get near, and the slaughter begins. One of the shots penetrates the window going out of room 111. Melody Flores is still urging Adrian Gonzales to go in. She sees the shot come through the window. Adrian Gonzales tells the police that she sees the shot go through the window. Adrian Gonzales gets on the radio and says, guys, I think he's made it in the building. This isn't confusion. Adrian Gonzales remains. For the next minute and a half, about 60 shots go into children. and Adrian Gonzales remains. 3.5 minutes into this ordeal, while Adrian Gonzales is still standing out there, his boss shows up. Pete Arredondo, along with Sergeant Coronado. They're running up adjacent to another building, get about the same distance Adrian Gonzales is from the gunshots, and they hear the shots going off. And Coronado yells, what you would expect a police officer to yell. Shots fired, get in the building. 3.5 minutes later. So Adrian Gonzales joins the other two officers and Donald Page, who's just arrived, and they go into the building. He enters the building 3 minutes and 45 seconds after he got there, and after the damage is done. So we ask ourselves, was Adrian, was this his first day on the job? Was he a rookie? Adrian Gonzales was a veteran of 10 years. He'd been at the Uvalde Police Department for 10 years. He'd been to the school district for a year. He had thousands of hours of training. He went to compelled training, which was active shooter training, which is pretty straightforward. When you hear gunshots, you go to the gunfire. But it wasn't just active shooter training. They didn't just sit in the classroom, they practiced. They practiced what do you do if it's in an open area, like this open area. And they trained Adrian Gonzales how to do his job safely.
Bill Turner, emotional at times, delivering the opening statement for the state of Texas. We'll get a break, pick it up exactly where we left off. Stay with us.
I'm going to ask you a lot of intensely personal questions.
From the crime scene to the courtroom, this is Victim to Verdict.
Everyone has this heightened sense of anticipation.
What a day here at Court TV.
Fireworks both inside and outside the courthouse.
Let the cameras roll.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are in Texas. Opening statements underway in the Uvalde school massacre trial. Former Uvalde Schools police officer Adrian Gonzales is accused of failing to act quickly when an armed gunman began opening fire at the elementary school, Robb Elementary, back in 2022. Nearly 400 officers would eventually arrive at the school within minutes of the shooter entering, but it would take 77 minutes before police ultimately confronted the gunman. After 8 minutes and 45 seconds, the defendant, along with 2 others, did enter the school. That's where prosecutors left off. Prosecutor Bill Turner, in his opening statement, he's now talking about the training of the defendant and the decisions he did not make in that horrible day. Let's go back into the court, pick up the rest of the state's opening statements.
And that is, you look for concealment and cover. Concealment means the gunman can't see you. It may not protect you if he shoots, but he can't see you. Cover means you're protected. The corner of a building means you're protected. We're not asking Adrian Gonzales to commit suicide. He has been trained to go to the corner of a building and distract, delay, and impede the gunman while help is arriving. But Adrian Gonzales does nothing more than mic his microphone and tell other officers what's going on. So why are we here? When a child is in danger and calls 911, we have the right to expect a response.
And that's it. Bill Turner getting emotional at the beginning and the end of his opening statement, saying when a child calls 911, and that happened in this case, they expect a response. Let's bring in from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, before we hear the defense, David Gelman. Your thoughts? You ever see a prosecutor break down like that in the opening? Obviously, you rehearse. This was such an emotional case for everyone in that community.
Ted, that's a first. I've never seen a prosecutor break down like that. And it is emotional. I mean, you have all these children in this situation where you have a gunman and you have multiple children who died because of it. I can understand where he's coming from. And I thought his last line where you have a child calling for 911, I thought that was very powerful. It'll be very interesting to see how the defense plays this. These are very difficult cases, Ted, as you're well aware. You know, when you had the Parkland shooting a couple years ago and you had an officer, the sheriff there, he was charged. And what happened there? He was found not guilty. This is an uphill battle right now for the prosecutors, in my opinion, because they're going to have to prove that he was doing this intentionally. Now, they don't know about his training. They don't know what he was said or what he was told to do, or did he think that he should really stay back and let everybody else come in to give them all the information. So again, this is a very difficult case for the prosecution, in my opinion, even though it's very, very sad and very emotional.
Yeah, parents wanted answers. This was sort of pushed by the community. Someone has to be accountable because the shooter was killed in the incident.